Hello, hello. So I have to check now on Facebook to make sure I'm live, which I am. Oh, it's 7. And then I'm now watching it on another stream. Which is YouTube. So if I go off on some random tangent, it's because I'm answering messages on the other chat. I can also see the Facebook, Twitch and YouTube all come up on the same feed. So I'm not talking to myself, I promise. Well, I am, but I'm not. How is everyone? We have a misty gorilla this evening. Just cleaned it. So the first thing I do is put some gloves on. If you see, I'm not touching the surface at all with my fingers. See, bit of my merch. It's just an apron with a Basil sticker in it. Looks good, though. Saying that, I actually have one of my jumpers on, so if I do this, you see my back one. I'm not flexible enough to turn around and show you the front. So I've got that sort of Basil. I've got that in large. My friend makes stickers, so I have t-shirts and everything. I got fed up walking around like an advert for other people, so I made my own t-shirts. I wasn't actually selling anything. I just wanted to not look out of place with everyone walking around like a bloody billboard. That is a very good question. Is it Anthony or is it Tony? Well, I don't want to insult you by saying the wrong. I had a very good friend of mine who was called Anthony. I had two actually, one called Anthony and one called Tony. Both spelt the same, both pronounced it completely different. Oh, Jimmy. Now, is that actually, this is someone I'm talking to on YouTube now, is that something is Recharge actually your surname or is it your Twitter, is it your YouTube name? Because I think it's rather cool. Yeah, I was looking into it, right? Twitch says I've got to do 400 minutes a month. Well, I did 240 yesterday. Anthony, right, cool. Oh, that's a shame, Jimmy. I would have thought that sounds pretty cool if that was your actual name. It's like, my name isn't actually Basil. Right, Anthony. What I do is I draw a line down the centre of the shell, so I measure it off and centre it, and then I draw one side. Then I actually get calipers out and then just draw the points or dot the points and then draw it by eye. But you can, if you were to cut a bit of tracing paper the size of the roof, fold the paper in half. No, draw one side. No. Get a bit of paper, draw a line down the centre, draw half, fold the paper over, draw it again, fold it open, and then you've got a mirror. Then you just hold it up on the inside and draw it. That's probably the most straightforward way of doing it. I used to. I just seem to eyeball it now. You think about it logically, right? That's very important. It's got to match. That's critical that it's got to match because that's even closer. This side and that side, you can be a little bit more calmed on. Yeah, but I used to keep all sorts of pads with all my drawings in and stuff like that, and now I just eyeball it. I also draw points to finish on details that I can switch over. So like I draw above the door handle on the back of here, so I made sure the handle, it matched on this side, and then I finished on the door frame on the there. I did the same there as well. So it's finding things to use as landmarks as such. Jimmy, what F1 shell did you get? No, that's an that's an F18. So I'm guessing your name's Tony then. Oh, right, now I know who you are. Sorry, that penny's just dropped. Oh, that's disappointing. No, I'm joking. Why Jimmy Recharge? Now, I've been doing some measurements. Well, literally, I eyeballed it really. So I put the wheel arches. I mean, obviously, it's got to be cut out. If I line them up so the cut lines are the same, the wheel arches turn out to be the same height, surprisingly, and the roof's the same height. Well, Jimmy, you managed to spell it all right, so I'm assuming you're not that bad. I get the logic now. Say hello someone from Facebook, so that because all I'm getting is messages from YouTube, and I don't want to look like I'm sort of just talking to nobody. Right, check for spiders. Right, let's see if this is still good. Hello, Colin. Yeah. Didn't have to, it's still clean. It's not been warm, is it? Hello, Ashley. How you doing? How moody do these look? I'm a big fan of these. I think these look very, very nice. Very nice. I agree, Kevin. I would like a front wheel drive 90s touring car. Well, I added 2 little bits after the light because I think it looks a bit too plain. So it's got this dirty great big grill at the front, little side ones, and so I added these 2 little ones. And the headlights are going to be an absolute murder to paint. That's as close as you're going to ever get to Jimmy's Gorilla. Right, I spray this neat, I don't mix it at all, and I go through buckets of this stuff. I suppose I could thin it, but I don't like the consistency it gives. I'm used to it thick. I know much easier how to regulate the quantity. You've got these little fins. Yes, Tony. It's water based. Although I don't actually look after it particularly well, as you would have noticed last night. So I just kind of leave it with mask in it and just hope for the best. It's water based. Liquid mask can be thinned out with water if necessary to go through a spray gun. It can be applied with a soft brush. That's how I used to do it. Dries in 1 to 2 hours in a nice climate, not like ours. Can be accelerated with warm air. Best results can be obtained leaving it overnight. I don't. Liquid mask works better when used with water-based paints. But I've experienced this, and I can tell you that rattle cans melt it. it's probably the same thing with it in a different colour, but I couldn't possibly comment. But yeah, it's water based. You can thin it down. I can't seem to get it to spray as nicely, so I don't bother. I just spray it neat. And so I've got in the corner over there. You can't see. Here's one empty, and there's another 5 I can see in the corner over there because I seem to keep these. I think these will be useful for something. I don't know what. Maybe when I do my world famous, soon to be famous airbrush reducer and cleaner, I could put it in that. They just seem they're too good to throw away. So 2 coats. I would normally suggest 3, but I'm using a 2 mil. A 1 mil tip. So way more comes out. What do you mean, bottle hoarder? Those are my ones. Those are my ones to clean out and reuse. They're empty now. I'm thinking of the planet and the wallet. I'm gonna have to have a serious restock in colours soon because I'm running rather low. I might not show this process in future. I just think this is a little bit, it's helpful for people to see it once or twice, but if I do this every time, I'm going to have no one watching me. So I won't do this in future. What do you mean, Tony? That's tidy. When the lockdown started, I took everything out of here and then finished lining it and then filled it full back up with crap. But I do really need to have a bit of a tidy up, you're right. It's almost like I've painted 115 bottles, 105 body shells in here this year. Right, this is what I was thinking of this earlier, right? You don't trust a skinny chef. You don't trust a bald hairdresser. You don't trust a fat gym instructor. Well, unless it's judo. So, don't trust a painter that's got a really immaculate table. There we go. There's the words of wisdom. Okay, some of the painters might have a massive OCD and have a really tidy area, so to speak. But I think you've got to live a bit free and just let it just sort of drop out. And this is why I built this shed anyway. I built my shed so I've got somewhere to throw paint around and I can leave it overnight and come back. Yeah, well, my station is actually tidy. It's just everything around it's full of crap. The space where I actually paint's tidy. Would it make you feel better if I changed my blue sheet? Yeah, mine were clean when I did them a while ago. And they're sitting there with rubber gloves over so they don't get dry. I don't know what you mean. Right, okay, I'll do the workspace in a second and I'll change the blue roll. Hello Facebook viewers. I'm not talking to myself, I promise. I am talking to myself. I'm talking to YouTube at the same time, and the feed I'm watching on, I get YouTube comments and Facebook comments, but when you look on Facebook, which I'm looking here, and I'm the only person watching, I don't know why I'm explaining it now, it looks like I'm talking to myself, and I am. They were telling you they can't see your comments, so they're just assuming I'm talking to myself. So I've been tested and I'm not. That, believe it or not, is the side of my son's cot. You know these like things so they can the tether you tie it up to the side of the cot so he doesn't nut the side of the bars in his sleep. So Tony, now you're getting all technical. You're jumping between feeds. That's kind of funky. So on this side, there's actually a teddy bear. Look. Got the teddy bears. This was just to help me when I was. It's just nicer to lean on rather than just leaning on a table. Right, so where's my blue roll after that? This stuff I bought a dozen rolls of this, and it's not very good. The first lot I had was really absorbent. Yeah, does that make you feel better now? Hi Martin. Right, I've got to run inside and get some blades. I've run out of blades. That's the new one. That's the old one. The reducer. Semi-professional. Sometimes these come off really easy, sometimes they don't, and this is a don't. Where are my pliers? Ta-da! So I'm slightly adding to my pot of I haven't gone to get them yet. I was just about to talk about getting them, so I'm going to go get them now. I'll be 2 seconds. I could give you a tour of the shed, but I'd have to take all my shelf down. But you see, there's my floor, there's my feet, there's my freezer, box where I throw everything in, compressor, mouse, computer mouse, hairdryer spot. So this is a pallet, and then I've got, I can't move it around. I'm gonna make, I reckon, right. I'll still got my phone there with and then my laptop's next to it, and then I've got just random stuff. Oh, where did all my what's that? Trophies, obviously. Oh, who put them there? Got too many in the house, you see. I have to keep them out, store them. There we are. Now, if I turn off this light, does it upset the... Is that too dark? I find that much easier light to cut in, and then I'll put the main light back on afterwards. If it's too dark, I'll turn it back on. I much prefer cutting in like low light with a light in front of me. So I asked 2 questions and you went, yep. Cheers.
Bring it to the booth.
Yeah, because it's daytime, isn't it? So that is a light, false ceilings in shops. Well, that's the light bulb from those, the sort of 2-foot square boxes, light boxes they have in the ceiling. That's oh, my head looks nice and shiny. That's one of the overhead lights put on a socket. Mr. Cipollina made me some very cool, like dinner plate size LED ones, but they're so bright. Well, I've got to install them first, but I reckon they'd you better see it illuminate the moon with them. Right, start with the window frame first. Now, where's the one? Right, so because I've got the shelf. Well, I did a shelf for Jimmy a couple of weeks ago. This is his Honda. I haven't posted it to him yet, obviously. So we're going to do a version of this, but we're not using the blue. We'll see when I put some lights back on. So I'm going to put that there. So I've got that as a reference. I'm going to start cutting. The first impressions of these gorillas is they're rather nice. Have you finished watching that Gangs of London or whatever it's called, Tony? No, my wife was watching it. I don't know if I'd really trust one of them boards, because you know how much you can lean on it. I just find that when cutting out, it's much easier to have a light behind you. And then whenever you have the shell at a slight angle, you can see where all the cuts pop up. Yeah, LMPs have gone very much the same way as touring cars, where they're function over style now, aren't they? They don't resemble anything. Actually, no, I'll take that back. The BMW I did last night was quite nice. And I must admit that having painted a few of these now, the Zoo brand of shells are the quality is really nice. And I think Zoo as a brand, as a firm, has made the biggest jump in our sport. It's made everyone take note of them. They weren't anywhere a year or two ago, and now they're one of the standard shells.
Welcome to the channel.
Let's see how that pulls out. Okay, I'm going to get my glasses back on. Tony, does the camera sound? Sorry, the microphone sound better through YouTube? Obviously, my silky smooth delivery is good between either, I guess. I don't understand how Facebook was catching me out so much for music when the speaker was terrible. There's a lot of window frames on this. This must be a subconscious thing. I don't actually realise I'm doing it, but I always start on the same side of the shell each time. I always start on this way round because I find this side harder. All these windows are a pig. That blade wants to wander massively. How long have you not smoked for now? Two days. You haven't even had the itches yet. Because that'd be you give it a. How long have you smoked for? How many years? Hello, Ian. You all right? Since you were 16. So what's that? At least 3 years then. What's the longest you've gone without smoking? It's a habit. That's the thing. It's not hard. It's just a habit. It's just getting your head. When you're ready to give up, that's half the battle. There's no point giving up if you don't want to. Because if you're in the right headspace to stop it, then I did wonder what would happen to certain groups of people with obviously the pubs shut, because there's a Weatherspoons at the end of my shop road, and that's full of the old boys at about 8 in the morning. So you sort of wander past there on your way to sort of get yourself a coffee, and you're thinking, how the hell can they sit there and drink beer this early in the morning? It just turns your tummy. And I just wondered, I wonder how many of these people are going to suffer with everything being shut. And then I saw a couple of the nasty skagheads that go around my town, and they all look like they've been on an intensive holiday where they've had no choice about it. All skin and bones. Almost felt sorry for them. So they were on the phone to a drug dealer and they were having a right old argument with him, so I was trying not to laugh. Trying to be overly aggressive with each other and all keep calling each other bruv at the same time. Yeah, but there'll be some people that can't get cigarettes, so they'll be going just as nuts as. There are a lot of people going through cold turkey over the last couple of weeks, and expect a lot of drunks when the pubs do reopen, because everyone's sobered up. If you Google or you're on YouTube, look for a dance thingy called Circle. They're French. This set is by. Let me dop myself in here. Dennis Salter, a Scottish dude, absolutely nanas. Now, while I've been talking, I've been cutting out completely the wrong thing and get myself into a right old muddle. So I listen to DJ sets, and I find that these circle ones are really, really good. This one is they have these big parties, and they put it on webcams. And this one's set in a French railway station. But the bloke's absolutely nanas. Some of my favourite sets are on this circle. I need to set myself a limit on how much I'm going to do this. I was going to do. I haven't decided, to be honest. I don't know what to do. Because at the moment, with lockdown, I can paint nearly every evening once the kids have gone to bed. Obviously, that'd be more tricky when we go back into normality. This is shell 33 of lockdown. Now, I didn't actually set myself a running total as such to try and beat or do. I just had some shells to do, and I've still got plenty turning up. Yeah, but I don't know how many people are going to watch me. If I'm on here too much, I think it might saturate. I mean, I'm hilarious, but not that much. And obviously finishing at midnight or one every night is not great, makes you a bit tired. But I still have my car to rebuild for tarmac. Not that I think we're going to be on tarmac, but I just feel like I should take it apart and rebuild it. What does JQF mean? Ah, right, okay. It's on your BRCA card, really? Do you know what? I'm not feeling this tonight, so what I might do is I might just cut the shell out and then come back on tomorrow night and paint. So now we're at 10:30, and I reckon I've still got another half hour of cutting. Then I reckon there's about 2 hours of painting, and I'm tired. Although I'd rather admit it than drag on and do so. I've already done something stupid and pulled a window frame out I didn't want to pull out yet. Because traditionally you do the darkest colour first. Well, I've pulled out the inner pinstripe I'm going to do, which is my new favourite thing to do. But I've not done these shells before, so I've then pulled the side ones out, like I would normally do, and realised there's no outer. So I've picked all the bits out, but there's no outer frame. So unless I draw an outer frame, which I think is going to look rubbish, or I do them first instead of last, so which would be orange. So I've kind of screwed that up. So I need to think about how I'm going to rectify that. It might just be a case of a load of white. Tea and biscuits. I've got some Haribo indoors. We had a Chinese for tea, and then some ice cream, and I really don't need any sweets. She was very nice. I'm sure it'll repeat later. Well, I say, don't you? You have good days and you have bad days when you're doing this silly thing, and you have a bad day, just admit it and move on. And I'm just feeling a bit knackered. I'm working at the moment as well, normal work, but only until I was only at work till 3 o'clock today, and then I went off and did deliveries. It's quite amusing when you're knocking on someone's door and then stepping back, and they either treat you like a long lost friend because they've not seen anyone to talk to, or they treat you like you've got the plague. I think I prefer the plague. Had some old boy, I had to go take him some. Do you remember for counting cash, they used to have like these finger condom thingies that you could. They were like little rubber hats for your fingers, so you could count the cash. Well, he was using them to put his medication onto his fingers to save it from rubbing off. And when I went round to deliver them, I had to take 5 of these at 70p each. I was like, I'm not charging you any money. It's just not worth it. It's embarrassing. Thimble things, yeah. And so he was like, oh. And then his wife came out, and as I was saying, talking to them from a distance, and he was getting all in. You could tell the pair of them hadn't seen anyone for ages, and they just wanted someone to talk to. Then he just appeared with a Dyson. He went, "Can you fix this?" I'm like, "Sorry." He went, "Oh, this is broken here and here." I went, "What if you told me? I would have brought some glue." So then I took some glue round to him the next day. It's either that, or they want to treat you like you've got the plague and you've got to stay, which I totally understand. But they want you to stand away like miles and miles and throw money at you like some sort of cheap hooker, which I'm totally cool with. So how comes you've been indoors for 2 months? That sounds so much more dramatic than 8 weeks. You're not at risk, are you? So that's that's a very personal question. Sorry. Why are you? Yeah, but why are you? I can't ask it without asking the obvious. Does work all right? Because you're a car sprayer, aren't you, by profession? Maybe you can teach me how to paint crash helmets. You go back next week. Well, that's going to be like a shot in the testicles, isn't it? Having had 8 weeks off work. Can you suggest any good videos on YouTube for painting crash helmets? Because I've learnt this way round, and well, you're watching me for starters. Learning this way round is the wrong way round to traditional painting, and so I'm going to struggle in learning the other way. I would love to be able to paint crash helmets. Yeah, but I want to do designs, not just a one colour wonder. I was going to say something then, I've forgotten. So, do you work in a repair shop, or do you do what sort of? Do you work in a garage, or so Jago, Jago, Jago? I think a crash helmet would be an absolute doddle compared to this, because this is all cutting in reverse and in tight angles, and I think this is a very good way to learn. I'm not going to stop doing this, by the way. Oh, you work for Aston Martin? What, in the actual paint shop for Aston Martin, physical Aston Martin paint shop? Or do you work for a firm that does Aston Martins? So I'm asking loads of questions, sorry, I'm actually interested. This is what I enjoy. This is the bit of the painting I enjoy the most, is the cutting out and getting all the lines spot on. But doing a crash helmet will be easy. I'll figure it out. Because most of it's all transfers. Special vehicle operations. So you've just been taken over by that rich Canadian F1 dad, haven't you? Stroll, that's it. So that makes sense now. That's now why you want to have an Aston Martin on your... Ah, I see. So I'm very slow to get these things. Explains the Aston Martin F1 car. That's about the only bonus I can see of Aston Martin taking over Force India or whatever they're called now. It's all money. It's not a sport anymore. Become very jaded with F1 because just defending it, and it's not even a race anymore. Gonna have more fun following the. I'm gonna make a. It's gonna take me a lot to get used to, but I'm gonna try and watch the British touring cars again, because obviously I remember them. The Super Tourers were the ones I watched the most. I mean, most kids' bedrooms have got most of the football pictures up and stuff like that. And I had all the centrefolds from Autosport. So I had like David Leslie's Acuria Cos Cavalier, which was blue with like the Scottish flag over it, and the Volvo and the Renault. Formula E, I give it a year or two, I suppose. I can't, not yet. It doesn't. I know it's the future, but not yet. It's not. Oil's got to dry up before I start. I mean, don't get me wrong. I play with RC cars that are electric. The electric RC cars have got way more power than nitro. It's a torque, isn't it? So I understand it's the future. I just don't. It doesn't interest me at the moment. All the time you can run out with batteries. But they said the same with petrol. When petrol first came out, they were like, cars would run out in the middle of nowhere and they needed a petrol station, and there was no infrastructure. So eventually the infrastructure will come. But until you can fast charge one of these things in like LiPo speeds, then I'm not interested. I can see it in the future being amazing, but not until they can do like the batteries last like 1,000 miles between charges or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. I just can't take them seriously. I know that it's just a personal view. I find I start giving out way too many opinions on here, and I actually realise I'm actually quite well opinionated. Obviously mine are alright as well. What's the quality like on the spares, on the parts? I know Ben was running one, or it's something to do with them. I just think because I drove the F1 cars indoors, and they were a fucking nightmare. So I can imagine on tarmac them being even more of a nightmare to drive. Right, so that's that door side done, window done, that bit of that roof done. talking way more than I thought. I've done loads. This is the problem though, you end up missing bits because you start talking too much.
So, how are you doing tonight?
Because were you an X-ray up to then, or were you a roach?
Monday is a rest day for you.
That just sounds like a bit of a joint or something, a roach.
I've seen the circle events before and they've been absolutely just like fantastic. So, and I took it easy this weekend. Don't worry. So I knew I had this here and I just wanted to come and just do my best and I had a fantastic time. Look at the smile on my face. Yeah, I saw that, and also the smile on the people's face. I think everyone.
So what made you leave Roach? It does amuse me. There's a very well known ex GT12 driver who was Zen, then went to Schumacher, and then went back to Zen, and he was going, "Oh, the Zen's so amazing. It's the best car ever." I went, "Well, why did you leave them to start with?" He just looked at me and he called me an arse. And now he's doing LMP and he's got an X-ray. He likes to talk a lot as well. Well, when I was GT12, I was always Schumacher because at my local club, there weren't many. And I quite liked the fact that it was the opposite car. And I won the last, one of my, where's the trophy I've got here? No, not that one. No. No, it's not here. It must be him. Oh no, it is here. It's the big one. Let's see if I can get that down. Obviously I cherish these. Didn't know it was up here. Well, here's a bit of history for you. This is the final check. So I'll put the lights back on now because I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just talking. So that says the final champion of Maritime Racing 2017 GT12. So I won the last ever championship at Maritime in the GT12 class, and then the club closed. So I can never be beaten. I really should put that up somewhere because that's kind of like a little bit of history. I know I was the scrutineer there. I remember because that was the day I came third in the F1 class in the A final. A final, third class. I was behind, obviously behind Mr. Murray and the X-ray kid. What was his name? Daniel. I don't know. I qualified sixth. First couple of laps, there was a big old bish bash. And I come out the first 3 or 4 laps in third place and no one got near me. And I was running scrutineering for 2 days straight and I managed to race and not do too bad a job. I think it's because I didn't actually play with my car at all because I was so busy scrutineering that I never adjusted it. And the car just got absolutely nailed for the final. His grip was just wicked. But that was my best ever result. Whereas where I go to EWS, which is what, an hour away, so that's what, 36 miles roughly. I haven't made. I've won the C this summer, or this winter just gone. I won the C final. That's the best result I've had in touring cars. Touring cars is hard. I think it's where, because I spent so much of my youth go-karting, I'm not used to having the throttle on mid-corner for grip. That's why I think I was half decent at, sorry, not half decent, competitive at GT12, because it wasn't really a putting the power down mid-corner to generate grip from the four-wheel drive system is a very odd. If you don't grow up with it, it's a very odd thing to do. Slam the throttle down to try and gain grip. Very weird. I wonder what these front-wheel drive cars are like, but I don't know. They're not cheap enough to have them as a second class. They're way too expensive. Nearly the same money as a touring car, and you've got half the. Well, that's not entirely true. They've got a lot of the running gears not in them. I don't know, because they're being engineered properly. The main reason I dislike them, and I know the simple answer was I should have gone to the AGM, but they booted my class out to allow them in. So they booted out the biggest class to import a new class that they just expect us all to go and spend 500 or 600 quid and just change all our gear. And I don't think it's going to. I think it will pick up, but it's not cheap. I mean, they're at least 400 quid for the car. But the main thing I have a problem with them is that it just dilutes the touring cars even further. You've now got 17.5, which I've now been forced to run because boosted is gone, and then you've got 13.5 blinky, and you've got mod, and now you've got fronty, and fronty's a whole new thing. Yeah, but there's not 4 classes of people. That's the problem. It's it dilutes the number. You look at like I don't understand the animosity between buggy and touring car. It's still a car, and it's still a handset, and it's still remote control, and yet the two classes like actively hate each other. And it's like, but you're the same. It's like North and South Korea. It's like, but you're the same. So I'm getting a bit too political. I should stop. But do you see what I'm getting at? I just don't. There's only a certain amount of people that enjoy remote control cars, and then you've got LMP12, and LMP12 won't go anywhere near. Well, why are LMP 17.5? Is that because they've got so fast? Because the LMP12, when I drove one, I built a Schumacher LMP12. I used it once won the meeting because I picked the meeting at West Kent where all the big boys were off at a big national. So I won the meeting and then sold the car because I just couldn't drive it. It was just too quick. Well, I just don't. Did you get the BRCA email saying that please support local clubs and stuff during this crisis? So I went and bought a Tamiya TT02 just so when we do come out of this, the local club near me runs those on slippy floor, and I'll go play with that, and I'll take my kids if they want to come. But I think the days of travelling up around the country to go race your class are going to be a bit numbered for a little bit. These are just my opinions, and I don't want to get into trouble with anyone. It's just these are my thoughts, and I'm not trying to slag anyone off or anything like that. These are my own opinions and stuff. Well, I think the slower LMP class is a very good idea because 13.5 boost Blinky was insane. And then you had mod as well, didn't you? Oh, Colin. So where's there a club in Basildon? Because like Basildon is that's doable for me. That's Vegas, and it's like sounds like it's a very good place because it's Basel in it. I drive through Basildon to get to EWS. As I said, I'm not out to bash anyone. I'm just like voicing my opinion because I've got this medium to talk in. I think the BRCA do a very combative job. Takes a certain character to police your hobby. Become a committee member. I mean, I was a committee member at Maritime, and it kind of ruined it a little bit. Oh, I know where that is. Oh, Colin? Could you send me a link to that? Because what time on a Wednesday does that work? Does that happen? Is it indoor, outdoor? I don't know anything about it. What's the club called? I'm asking too many questions. What's the KFC like? Mackie D's? Oh, that sounds yummy. See, because like, there's no clubs in Wales. Hello, Simon. Look, you're not supposed to talk about subjects like that. Then no one needs to know that about me. This is wicked because I'm getting a whole new medium here because these are the I wouldn't normally get the YouTube people to talk to. Normally I've just got like a couple of people on Facebook. I mean, there's a very good friend of mine now who's American, and he comes on and I talk with him. Well, I talk at him and he texts me. If you could, Colin, I'd appreciate that. It's just the nearest club to me is Sidcup, because I'm on the posh side of the river. So the nearest club to me, if I was to stone's throw, is Sidcup. Then it's Sevenoaks, and then it's West Kent. And Sevenoaks is a slippy floor club. The nearest outdoor place to me is Eastbourne. Well, actually, that's a lie. Where I am, because I'm in Gravesend, so if you put my sat nav, if you put sat nav down for Colchester, Eastbourne, Ada, and Aldershot, if you put all their postcodes into sat nav, there's literally 3 or 4 miles difference between all of them. Now, if you were just being really lazy, the closest one, or the easiest one to get to, is Colchester, because it's just literally straight onto the M25 and then up the whatever A something, and that's just a no-brainer. I could just switch off and just drive up there easy. Eastbourne is a headache because that's all B roads. Aldershot is really easy to get to. Thank you, Colin. Yeah, West Kent. It works back. See, this is my bugbear with West Kent is not anything to do with the classes it runs, or because it's traditionally it's a 12th club, which I totally understand. And when I was running 12th, it was really handy. But when I go racing, it's mostly in the evenings, so my kids and my wife are in bed, or it's generally in the afternoon or evening. Well, West Kent finishes at 1 o'clock, and so you have this terrible rush to get out of the hall by a certain time, and then normally it's an hour drive, but you come out of West Kent at Sunday lunchtime and try and get home, it's like insane to get home because the traffic's so bad. So it can take 2 hours. It just knackers a day up too much. And when you get home, you're knackered. And you then got the kids going, oh, let's go and do something. And I'm like, oh, I need to sit down for 5 minutes. Yeah, I remember West Kent when I was running GT12. He literally had 4 sets of tyres. And he just added them up in succession. So you literally bolted them on and then 3 other ones back in a box. The turnaround there was insane. And I just didn't enjoy going there. It's a very well run club. It's a very established club, but it's not. It's a shame. But that's a personal preference. It's not anything to do with the club. I just don't. I know a couple of drivers who keep complaining about the track being too tight, and then they get the class changed, and then they start running it, and then no one turns up, and then they go back to their other class, and they're saying, "Oh, the track's too tight," and they're just an argument. There's a pair of them. They've moved to a different class now, which is good. Well, sort of. But you do wonder what the state of racing is going to be by... See, I'm not expecting anything this summer at all. I just kind of, in my head, have got this summer written off. Which is fine. I totally understand why. It would only bug me if everyone else was racing and I couldn't. Otherwise, doesn't really bother me. Because I know no one else is there. I'm not missing out. because I find it a very sociable thing as well. It's not just purely. I go racing, yes, but I go also to see my friends. Yeah, but you just wonder what the state of racing is going to be in the winter, which is when I can think. I think there's a legitimate chance of us getting back to racing again. Where you wonder if the halls that the clubs rent will allow us in. You know, there's all sorts of questions that I'm overthinking, which unfortunately do need to be asked. I mean, what's going to happen with the rostrum? It's like the only club I can see the rostrum actually working is EWS, because it's a huge one. The last thing you want to do is make someone ill from going racing. Never been to Milias, but it's a track is a postage stamp, isn't it? See, also West Kent is the wrong carpet. West Kent is yeah. I've had to chat with one of the racers. I won't say who it was. I painted a shelf for him just before lockdown, just before the national. He wanted a shelf for the national, and I was like, it's not going to happen, but I'll paint it anyway. And it didn't happen. He said that everyone was unwell with a really bad flu at the Worlds, and he got it, and it said it knocked the shit out of him. He said he had like 3 weeks on his arse, but you wonder if he's caught it again. So it's worth a question. I know my dad went up to a trade fair in London for work, and he had a week in bed. He just knocked himself sideways, but he's in his 70s. And I don't really want to test the theory to see if the old man did have it or not, unless there's some test to be done and we can actually see that he actually had it, because I think he's had it. But unless these tests are readily available, I don't think it's fair or to test the theory out when other people need them. So, Tony, which James had it? And did he have it bad? Because like one of my wife's best friends, all she did was lost her sense of taste. And if you've seen what she normally wears anyway, you wouldn't think that she had a sense of taste. Did he get it bad though? Don't say something nasty happened. Oh, you mean you had it at the race meeting? You came in that fast though, because they were saying it takes it could be up to 14 days when you catch this thing. That's the thing, isn't it? You could spread this about without realising, and you don't know for 2 weeks if you've passed it about to. You could pass it to 200 or 300 people without even realising, when you're as famous as me. Ah, so Mr. Stewart. It's odd that it kicked in that hard if you had to go home. Did you race at the Worlds, Tony? I know you did the Euros, so I watched the opening thing and you were arsing about in front of the camera, which made me laugh. Because that's the sort of stupid thing I would do. I don't get these people that are so uptight. It's miniature toy car racing. Have a chill pill. Obviously, I don't say that when I'm racing. I want to win. But there's people walking around in race gear and walking adverts and my sponsor this and my sponsor that. So I'll get a life. I have a proper sponsor. There's Mr. Madison, as in like MHP. He sponsors me. Gave me a car. Which annoyingly, I've only driven once. So I got it for the last round of EWS. And then Rug Races got cancelled before I got to drive it there. So but I understand why Rugs got cancelled, and I actually wanted it to be cancelled. I didn't feel comfortable going there. Because it's just too far to go, and you don't know where everyone's coming from, and it's just a bit like the world, so you could be spreading it all over the place. Where did Tony? Where did you come, if you can remember, for the GT Worlds? I came. Where did I finish? I think I finished. I've still got me. See, I've still got my world sticker on the shell. Which the shell's been sitting in the shed now, and it's absolutely covered in dust, paint dust. That's when I used to call myself Basil Airbrush Designs, so I could call myself Bad. But I don't think it got me much work, so I took the bad off. But that used to make me laugh. So I was number 65, and I think I'm not going to try and I was about 46. I think. Yeah, I sold my car almost straight after because obviously my club closed. But I kept the body shell, and I still also have I've got the lanyard and other odds and so I've actually got the other because I painted a shell specially for that meeting, and that's in my cupboard indoors in a box. So, but that was the one I actually used. Yeah, I was 65. But I was well out of my depth at that meeting. I'd never realised. I learnt a lot that day, and it's a shame that the club where I ran GT12 closed. So I learnt a lot from the fast Schumacher boys. And I never knew that squaring a pod was a real thing. The rear pod. Gained a ton of power from that. All these books, well not books, all these setup things you're reading, and I was doing a fundamental thing, and I was, well, if you think about it, if you take the side links off and loosen the pivot screw, if you then take a straight edge from front wheel to rear wheel on both sides, it squares the pod up, and then you tighten up the screw again. It just means the rear pod is dead level with the front. Google it. I'm sure there's some proper scientific way of doing it. But if you think about, it'll be on the same on your F1 shell as well. Your F1 car. You think it's a fixed rear axle. If your axle is slightly pissed, it's going to scrub. and you don't realise quite how much speed you're going to lose in a straight line. Yeah, you were along there with Mr. Cipollina, weren't you? And you all had your own venom shells. Sure you did. So I've got a paint chat going on as well as a live feed. This is my friend Alan, who's painting a shell at the moment. What if Cipollina's... Alan, you're not watching this, are you, at the moment? I don't think you are, anyway. I don't think he's here. I can't see. I haven't seen any messages from him. I'm talking to him as in a private message. He's not on the chat tonight. On this. This is a bit more relaxed. This is what I enjoy doing this more because it means I don't rush my paint. Oh, 10 pictures. Trying to mask, cut and paint one shell in the night is doable, just not feasible. This is about the only thing I'll miss from lockdown, because it's given me a tremendous amount of time to paint properly and not rush. I mean, the first 2 weeks of lockdown, I was nocturnal. I wasn't getting up till like 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to bed at like 3 in the morning. I've got tons of painting done. But if everyone has a good reset from this, then I don't think it's actually a bad thing. And when I say reset, I mean like a rethink about what's actually important. And not like, I mean like pubs being open and restaurants and stuff. I mean like family time and like grandparents, and I mean, I'm getting fed up looking after my parents' grandkids. But I'm liking spending time with my son making Lego. Well, Tony, I've not even opened the box, so, and there's a box before you, and then behind me here there's 6 in that bag, 3 on that shelf, 2 on that shelf, 6. So I have 11 in here behind me. I've got this one. Then I've got another. I'd say we're probably 2 weeks away. If I'm running to the same sort of speed at the moment, and there's no reason why I can't. I think I've burnt myself out again. I think I've just done too much in too many. Because I'm actually quite enjoying the figuring out how to get the YouTube and Facebook and Twitch to all work together. I gave up in the end and actually paid for a subscription so that it will. So this restream thing will go between all the different platforms, and I can add a ton more platforms, but I can't think of what else is useful. But I've obviously now got a better laptop as well, which is useful, which was given to me because my laptop went bang. We didn't go bang. Facebook decided to update their software and it wouldn't work anymore. So now I've got this one, which is really useful. This is really, the benefits of this live stream have been wicked. I mean, someone said to me at the start, "I was like, why are you doing this? You're giving all your knowledge away." And I was like, well, it's not really. It's just stuff I've learned. It's nothing super secret. But I got this laptop because that was given to me, and you can't see, but there's an air conditioning unit in here. And that was gifted to me, and they even came around and installed it. So whenever you see me say hello to David Studd, he's like my bestest friend ever because he gave me an aircon unit and installed it. I was very lucky. But it means in the summer I can have a cold shed as well rather than a hot shed. So that's going to be quite wicked. I think it'd be quite amusing because my wife absolutely hates this shed, and hello Vinny. So my wife absolutely hates this shed, but as soon as the summer kicks in, and if it's obnoxiously as hot as it was last year, it's going to be like fridge cold in here, and I bet she comes in. But no, Mr. Studdy was absolutely stunning. Him and old Nigel Philpott, they both turned up, and I was teaching Nigel how to do certain things with an airbrush while David was installing the aircon. It was an old unit he had. He'd obviously found it somewhere. Top bloke. And he's actually quite funny. Not as funny as me, but he is quite funny. Right, I'm going to be rude and ask. How do I know you, Vinny? Is this have we met before at racing, or are we? Because the thing with YouTube is I don't know anyone's names, and I'm all new to this. You obviously know David. Ah, right. And have we? I'm better with faces than I am with names. Have we met? I got the kind of face you can't forget. Cool. That's all right then. So I'm not being rude and not. not forgotten you. I have a memory like a sieve as well. So what do you race, sir? How'd you find my page? I like to ask all these questions because it does bemuse and confuse me how people find each other on these forums. It bemuses how people find, because I'm not particularly well known. I don't understand how I've gone as far as I have, because I've got shells I've done for Nigel is like my RC granddad. I used to sit with Nigel at Maritime, and wherever we go when we're racing together, we always try and pit together. So I've got a lot of time for Nigel. Poor old bugger, he's stuck indoors at the moment. But if you've raced at Rugs, I might have bumped into you there. Facebook is a wondrous place, isn't it? It can be great. It can do great good. It can also be an absolute arse. I think when I get round to painting these lights are going to be wicked, because they give such a cool angle to them. That might be before me, because I only started coming to the rug racer meetings. It's only my second winter there. Well, put a link up or something, and I'll do what I can, or I don't know how this actually works. You might be a bit more savvy at this than me. Right, a little bit more, and then I'm done for tonight. I just don't think it's reasonable to start painting this late. I'm just going to make boo-boos as I'm tired. I'll be on. Yeah, I will be on tomorrow night. I'm not going to lie and say I won't be. This is kind of my sort of hobby at the moment. It's cool. It's a hobby and a hobby anyway. But I can see when the eyes do finally go, which isn't really far off, then if my kids don't take the sport up, then I'll be painting all the time and trying to live vicariously through my paint, which I kind of am already, because Elliot Harper and Jimmy Madison race for me. I paint for them, and then Jan Rosicki in Germany. So I'm getting the right drivers. Been very lucky. Although I had to bug the Watsits out of Elliot to get Elliot to come over to Basil. I don't think he took me very seriously to start with, which a lot of people don't, which is fine. They just see me as a super hilarious, limpy bloke. Last winter I did 17.5, and then the winter before that I did 13.5 blinky, and then the year before that I actually did 1 or 2 rounds in mod, which was just like a waste of time. I don't think Tony's ever done touring car. Has he at rag races? This is a whole different community to what I'm normally used to. I'm normally used to talking to people on Facebook, which I did have quite a good little go. In the 7 years I've been building up my painting on there, sorry, 8 years, I've just hit the 800 mark on the likes and 900 followers. So I was starting to get really good numbers on Facebook, and people keep saying to me, why aren't I doing anything on YouTube and now this Twitch thing and whatever odds and sods. So this is a bit of an experiment to see if it's worth doing. Seems to be quite fun. Was it the Quicksilver Chrome? It's still the best stuff by an absolute mile. I can't seem to get any more of it at the moment. Right, so that's the front lights done, front bonnet, all the side door, that side. That's brilliant. I've been talking to Tony so much, I haven't actually noticed me do this, so I've just cut the whole thing out without realising, which is nice. Oh no, still a bit to do. One little section. Fast colours is very rare now, as long as it's been well looked after, because that stuff is quite old, I would assume. If you want my personal opinion, Hobbynox and Flash Colour are the same thing, just in different bottles. That's a personal opinion. I know people do have a dumb view on Hobbynox. If you can put, if you've got any old marbles, if you put it in, if you drop a marble in there, or some old top deck screws, and then you can rattle it around with a marble in there, then it might bring it back to life, and a little bit of reducer. Now, see, with Snippy, I take a lot of credit there, and modest. I'm very modest too, but I've been helping Snippy out a lot. A lot. I sold him his first brush. and he still talks to me. Now he's using he's just got himself a new compressor. He sent me pictures tonight actually, and he's been setting up his new compressor. So he's been picking up my extensive knowledge on matters of PSI and stuff. And I was like, I don't know, just spray it into your hand, and if it feels right, use it. Because my regulator doesn't work. Yeah, and I told him what little printer to buy as well. And so, yeah, Alan has. I've got a lot of time for Alan. It's annoying because he's getting really good. It's just like I've got to a level, and this is going to sound really big-headed. To see a big improvement now, it takes a lot. Whereas Alan is doing these massive jumps up, and he's got to get to a level. Am I making sense? So Alan is definitely on the right trajectory. He's going to be a really good, and he's the right character for it as well. He's a lovely bloke. Yeah, I don't want to sound derogatory or anything, or me sound big-headed, but yeah, he's. I've definitely given him a lot of pointers. Some of them he didn't actually appreciate. Who likes criticism? And his boy is super fast. Little Shane is going to be a serious contender for the next 20 years if he stays at it and doesn't get into booze and girls or boys and stuff. The little Snip's going to be one mustard driver. He already is. He's already beaten me. No shame in that. I admit that. Right, all I've got to do now is rear lights and rear arch bits. But it's also the fact that Shane is so respectful out on track as well. You can hear Alan telling him what to do, and you're thinking, wow, because obviously my kids are 8 and 5, and I would like them to take up racing, and I can see what Alan's done, and I'm like, I'm going to really use Alan as a font of knowledge for parenting when it comes to teaching my kids to race. Because Shane is very respectful on track. If he's done something wrong, he'll move. He'll give the space back, or he'll try and put it in your pasture as clean as a whistle. Yeah, definitely one to watch. I mean, I would try and get organised to paint for him, but I think Alan's kind of doing that for him now anyway. And Alan is my unofficial painter as well, so there's a bit of. But I'd like to think that's where Alan got his leopard print idea from. I know he's quite into leopard print anyway. How old's your boy? And what class are you going to go into now that the GT12 seems to have sort of burnt itself out a little bit? It's a shame because GT12 was such a oh blimey, 14. That's really good if he's that fast. GT12 was such a good idea, but it just burnt itself out. People were just throwing so much money at it. And I can kind of see history repeating itself slightly with the the MTC crew. I hope it doesn't. I know they've been very sensible in what they're trying to do with speed controllers and whatnot to try and limit the amount of money you can throw at it. You're seeing people now break up touring car kits to convert into MTCs, and you're thinking, geez, that's some serious money. Like a £500 kit to convert into an MTC. You're thinking, blimey, people have got a race against that. And people to turn it into something. They are getting expensive. I think it's such a clever little idea.